welcome. Thank you so much for coming to chat with us about your position here at the museum. So to start, could you maybe tell people, who you are and what your position here is at the American Museum of Natural History?
Sure, and I should just let you know I'm very excited to be here talking with you. This is a great project. So my name is Sheree Carter-Galvan. I'm Senior Vice President and General Counsel at the American Museum of Natural History.
Wonderful. So as Senior Vice President here at the American Museum and General Counsel, what are some aspects of the job that people may not have heard of this position before? What are some of the things that you would do on your day-to-day?
Well, it's an incredibly dynamic job and position. Many people, when they go into a legal field, they imagine what it means to be a lawyer, and their idea of what it is to be a lawyer is mostly informed by what they see on television, right? So they think they're going to be in a courtroom or they're going to do some major corporate deal. Working in the museum is not like what you see on television, maybe like some aspects in terms of the drama of it. There's a lot of drama, lots of complex situations that arise. You're dealing with an institution that's beloved. So often you're navigating the interests of different types of stakeholders in trying to get the job done. And what the job is really managing risk. And the activity, there's a lot of risky activity that happens. We have scientists that are traveling all over the world. They have to make sure that when they conduct their research, they're conducting it appropriately. We have people who are publishing things, making things. We're bringing children into the environment. We're building buildings and all of that mix. And we're on city property in a city building, right? We have a board of trustees. So all of that together means that on any single day, I'm dealing with all sorts of things. Any issue can come up, from repatriation to a contractor having an issue with our agreement, to a slip and fall. So there's a wide variety of issues I deal with on a daily basis.
Wow, that sounds, it probably keeps each day interesting though, I guess.
Every day is incredibly interesting. But the best part is I get to start my day by walking through the museum. And sometimes when I walk out on my lunch break, I see the joy in the people who are experiencing the museum and learning about all sorts of scientific matter. So it's exciting, it's great.
Oh, I do love it. Like when I'm on my way down to the subway to leave for the day, I always walk through the Hall of African Mammals, and it hasn't stopped being exciting. Every time it happens, I feel like I'm so lucky to be able to just kind of walk through the hallway.
Well, my first days here, I got lost, but it was so exciting, and I arrived before the doors had opened. So there was no one I could call to help me, but the recordings of the music was playing in the background, and I got to see, all of the specimens and the exhibitions, and it was pretty exciting to be lost in the museum one morning before starting work.
Well, it's a lucky spot to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is this the first natural history museum that you worked at, and what made you go into this type of position at a natural history museum?
Yes, it is the first. I started out as an entertainment lawyer. When I went to law school, I had this notion that being a lawyer is about really the clients you represent. And I really wanted to represent intellectually engaged and creative people, or the organizations or institutions that supported their work. So when I was an entertainment lawyer, I actually represented cultural institutions and publishers and filmmakers, and I did all of that work. And then ultimately, I worked in higher ed. So I got to merge these two aspects of what ultimately here at the American Museum of Natural History were so very relevant, because what we do is make scientific material accessible. Sometimes it feels like entertainment. There's research going on that seems like something you would do in a higher ed institution. And when this position opened up, it just seemed like a natural fit. And I'm calling one of my college roommates, and I told her I was applying for this job. She said, "You always wanted to work there," and I didn't even remember that was the case. So it's a beloved institution, and I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to work here.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, I think that by the converse, I think the American Museum of Natural History is lucky to have you here.
Well, thank you.
It's nice to have someone who's a visionary, kind of leading the charge, especially like you say, when it's for things that our jobs are actually very risky.
Yeah,
as scientists. So it's nice knowing someone is steering the ship in a direction that is keeping us all safe and happy.
Well, like they say, it takes a village, so it's a real collaborative effort, and that's also what makes the job special, is that you're collaborating and working with all types of people all the time.
Right. Well, that kind of does lead to one of our next questions, which was, what are some aspects of being at the American Museum of Natural History in particular, or any natural history museum, kind of behind the scenes that people wouldn't otherwise think of? I mean, maybe people do think of collaborative nature of museums, but it wouldn't be the first thing that would pop into my head, is that it's community building.
Right.
So if you were to think, in the aspects of your job or your time here at the museum, what's something surprising that people maybe behind the scenes wouldn't know is actually happening up on the 5th floor or the 7th floor or wherever you are in the museum?
Yeah, I think what would probably surprise people is how many different types of, what kind of work is going on here and how that, all comes together. So it's not just one type of activity. Usually people just focus on, oh, it's the scientists, it's the scientific activity, or, oh, the exhibitions, that's what we're focused on. I mean, it's incredible that we build our temporary exhibitions here at the museums, and there's, conservation happening on the premises as well. And we have board members, and we have children, and we have schools, and as I've mentioned, the city. And I think what would surprise people is how much you have to navigate and broker an outcome. Like, people often think, oh, that's an obvious, solution or response to a problem. But what's obvious to you may not be obvious to the next person. And so much of the work is getting on the phone or meeting with people and talking to people and listening to people and helping them understand the different points of view. And I think it's one of the challenges is, the scientists are so focused on their work and the exhibition people are so focused on what they do. Sometimes it feels siloed, but working in legal, the joy of it is you get to bridge. Right. You get to really know better than a lot of other folks what's really happening and how to get people. You kind of have to teach a lot about, oh, you don't know, actually this is what's happening over the other side of the house, and this is why this is a challenge. So I think people don't understand the dynamics behind the scene, which are very, very complicated.
So it almost is like you need to be an expert in psychology in a way, or in the human condition, and understanding kind of how to deal with humans. So do you think that if someone wanted to get into the type of position that you had, if someone's watching this, and they're in grade 1, and they're thinking, when I grow up, this is what I want to do. Right. Do you recommend that in addition to, like, what gave you the people building kind of community building skills that you have? What would you recommend someone would need to do in addition to a law degree to get this type of job?
I think it really helps to be a well-rounded person, to not, that's what has benefited me throughout my career is I thought I was going to be a playwright, I majored in psychology. I had friends from all walks of life, and I think being able to, engage with people who are different in different situations is actually part of my growth and development. I didn't know I was going to end up here, right? So I think most young people, I think the big lesson is whatever you think you want might not be necessarily what you need or where you'll end up. So what's most important is that you cast a wide net, that you be open. If you want to be a scientist, you might enjoy being a scientist and then decide to go to law school and be a lawyer and then do work supporting scientists as a lawyer. So I think that's the one thing about being a lawyer that I wish most people knew about, is that you can be a lot of different things. What you are as a lawyer is a real problem solver. So if you like solving problems and you like engaging with others, then it might be the job for you. And then the way you develop the skills prior to law school and even after law school is by exposing yourself to as much as you can.
So thank you so much for the chance to chat with you about this. I mean, I really, even though we worked together for a couple of years, I actually didn't realize a lot of the aspects of your position. which sounds really interesting. Maybe maybe you'll have to come with us to the field one time, so that way you can kind of see the risk that we're taking. Come with us to Guyana.
Definitely. I was so hoping I would get an invitation to go someplace. Absolutely. I think that's the best way to do the job, is to really get to know intimately what's going on and how people do their work. So thank you. It's been a pleasure. I love talking about what I do because I love doing what I do. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, and come visit us at the American Museum of Natural History. You can find out, more information about the behind the scenes at the Black and Natural History Museum website, on our Twitter page and YouTube.